Let's be honest. Have you ever felt that little knot in your stomach when you hear an audit's coming up? That classic us versus them feeling? Audits are supposed to make things better, but for some reason, they almost always feel like a big confrontation. Well, in this explainer, we're going to break down the communication strategies that can flip that script and turn a dreaded process into a really powerful collaboration. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to dig into why audits feel so adversarial to begin with. Then, we'll talk about building a solid foundation of trust. After that, we get really practical. We're talking about knowing your audience, handling those super tough conversations, and finally getting to the ultimate goal, building real collaborative partnerships that last. Yeah, it's a feeling so many of us know. This idea that an audit is something you just have to survive, a confrontation waiting around the corner. But why is that our go-to assumption? Let's unpack that. I mean, that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? The whole point of this thing is to improve. So why does the process feel more like an interrogation? Well, it all boils down to communication and making a crucial shift from a mindset of just finding fault to one of finding solutions together. And this is exactly why it matters so much. This isn't just about making audits feel a little nicer. The data is absolutely clear. Companies with really effective communication see a massive 202% performance boost. So getting this right doesn't just change the vibe in the room. It can literally transform the entire business. Okay, so how do we even begin to build that kind of culture? The good news is we don't have to start from scratch. We can build on a super solid foundation, the International Standard for Auditing, ISO 19011. You see, this standard completely reframes what audit communication is. It's not just about turning in a final report, no. It's a tool for building relationships, and it stands on 4 main pillars: being transparent, being timely with what you find, being appropriate in how you share it, and of course, being professional through it all. And that third pillar, appropriateness, is huge. It leads us straight into our next strategy. You absolutely have to know your audience. Because even the most brilliant message, if you deliver it to the wrong person or in the wrong way, just falls flat. Just take a look at how different these needs are. An executive? They're thinking big picture, strategic risk. They speak in the language of business. A manager needs to know the nitty-gritty technical details about a process. And the frontline staff? They just need to know, in plain English, how this is going to affect their day-to-day work. A one-size-fits-all approach is doomed to fail. So, what's the big secret to figuring all this out? It's so simple. You just ask them. It's kind of shocking how rarely auditors ask about communication preferences, and it is such a massive missed opportunity. In your planning meetings, just throw out these simple questions. It's a proactive step that can stop so many misunderstandings before they even start, and it builds goodwill right from day one. All right, let's get into the part of the job that can be, well, the most challenging: delivering bad news. This is where truly great communication skills are put to the test. Let's look at a couple of structured tools that can help you handle these moments with a lot more confidence and empathy. So first up, we've got something called the SPIKES framework. It's actually borrowed from healthcare, where professionals have to deliver difficult news all the time. It's a 6-step process. You set up the right environment, you check their perception of what's going on, you invite them to share information, then you share your knowledge, you prepare to manage their emotional response, and then you build a strategy together for what's next. It's basically a roadmap for a tough talk. Now here's another fantastic tool, and this one was practically designed for auditors. It's the AUDT technique. See what they did there? When you run into conflict, you acknowledge the problem, you work to understand their side, you discuss the evidence, not opinions, you identify where you agree, and then you take action together. It's a simple but really powerful way to bring the tension down. Okay, let's see how this plays out in the real world. So imagine you're in a pharmaceutical audit. You found this nagging, recurring issue with the cleaning process. You see it as a quality risk, but, well, the auditee doesn't quite see it that way. So they push back. They argue, hey, this is a minor thing. What you're suggesting is a total overreaction. And right there, that's the fork in the road. Are you heading towards a confrontation or towards a collaboration? So, what does the collaborative path look like? First, both sides get to say their piece, no interruptions. Then the auditor presents the facts, not their opinion, but hard data on the history of this problem. Then, together, they come up with a realistic timeline. And guess what? They reach a mutual agreement on the corrective action. No big fight, just a structured, evidence-based solution. And you know, that example leads us perfectly into our final and honestly our most important section. Because the real goal here isn't just to have one smooth audit, it's to completely change the relationship, to move past the checklist and build a true partnership. This right here is the fundamental shift in thinking we're talking about. It's moving away from that old school view of an audit as this one-time, confrontational event to find what's wrong, and moving toward a collaborative model that sees it as a constructive, continuous part of just getting better together. So how do you actually make that shift happen? You have to invest in the relationship outside of the audit itself. Try to understand their business challenges, offer them some helpful insights from the industry, check in on how they're doing with their improvements. And this is a big one. Actively ask for feedback on your own process. That's what proves you're a partner, not just a critic. So, as we wrap things up, I want to leave you with this question. Just think about it for a minute. Whether it's the SPIKES framework, the audit technique, or something as simple as asking about their communication preferences right at the beginning, which one of these tools will you make a point to use to turn your next audit from a confrontation into a real collaboration?